Hello, everybody. This is Dr. Finance. I'm your host, David Scheuer, and today we're going to be talking about Tesla versus California. Just going to go over the whole story here, and I'm going to give my opinion as well. So, first off, let's go through the tweet that really started it all here. Third Row Tesla podcast. I'm going to use them as a resource for this, since most of it is on Twitter, and it was just a war zone on Twitter, pretty much, to summarize it. But they tweeted out, so apparently Alameda County doesn't think Tesla should reopen until June 1st. And Elon goes, Tesla is absolutely filing a lawsuit against Alameda County immediately. The unelected and ignorant interim health officer of Alameda, sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, is acting contrary to the governor, the president, our constitutional freedoms, and just plain common sense. Frankly, this is the final straw. Tesla will now move its headquarters and future programs to Texas/Nevada immediately. If we even retain Fremont manufacturing activity at all, it will be dependent on how Tesla is treated in the future. Tesla is the last car maker left in California. And that's absolutely true. Tesla really is the last car maker left in California. And this says a lot about how they're treating their companies and how they treat businesses down there. I'm not personally from California. I'm from Oregon, and we're seeing that a little bit of that here in Portland as well. But California is seeing a lot of red tape, and you're going to go see and just see how ridiculous it gets here with this whole story and how crazy it's gotten. But next up, let's go through some more of the tweets here. So here is the article that the actual lawsuit, which was tweeted out by Third Row Tesla podcast, and you can read it yourself. I'll link it below. I've read some of it, but they actually did a summary of it, and I thought it was just a really well-written summary on Twitter. So I'm gonna go ahead and just read their summary. If you want to read it and follow along with the actual details and everything, go ahead and click the link to view the entire document if you want to read it yourself. And a pretty ironic thing is that the case number is, of course, 420. Tesla and 420, Elon and 420. It's meant to be, I guess. So Elon Musk, he said, I'm not messing around. Absurd and medically irrational behavior in violation of constitutional civil liberties. Moreover, by unelected county officials with no accountability, needs to stop. He's absolutely right. I think it's pretty absurd. And I'm going to talk about this more and why I agree with Elon and why I think this is, not just unconstitutional, but completely hypocritical and just ridiculous at what they're doing to Tesla as well as small businesses, not just in California, but around the country and other places, but especially in California. So next up, Tesla versus Alameda. Here's just the summary of the entire lawsuit here that I'm going to go through. So the nature of the action is local officials scrambled to protect Californians. The state stepped in to assure that response was clear, uniform, and coordinated using statewide regulations. Sometimes meant setting a baseline, sometimes meant the policy. Number two, when the governor issued the stay-at-home order, it said the statewide policy would be that federal critical infrastructure, like the Tesla factory, would be allowed to continue operating. So the governor said that since Tesla is considered critical infrastructure, whether you agree producing cars is critical or not, they're supplying a lot of jobs, they're producing stuff, etc. And the governor said, you know what, it is applied to the Tesla factory, and they will be allowed to continue operating. Number three, this was not a baseline. It was meant to keep essential functions running. Number four, nevertheless, Alameda County decided that it would insist that its conflicting pronouncements controlled over the statewide order. Alameda County arrogated to itself the power to force closure of businesses that the state governor said could remain open. So basically, the county is saying, you know what, we're going to defy these state orders, and we're going to go ahead and take on our own form of orders here and shut down Tesla, even though the state said that it could remain open because it's critical infrastructure and because of to keep its essential functions running. Sorry if I'm jumbling my words here. Number five, inexplicably, Alameda County said Tesla must shut down, even though their own FAQ describes the Fremont factory as essential and permitted. Number seven, Alameda County isn't using their authority to supplement the state baseline as described in the May 4th order. They're making rules that directly contradict and undermine the policy announced by the governor. This is what I exactly just said. They're completely contradicting. They're being completely hypocritical, contradicting everything. It's just completely ridiculous, in my opinion, what's going on here. Alameda County's power grab not only defies the governor's orders, but also federal and California constitutions. It violated the due process clause of the 14th Amendment. And number 9, it violates the equal protection clause of the 14th Amendment as well. Number 10, on top of that, the Californian Constitution says that counties can't make laws that conflict with state or federal laws. And that is where the constitutional piece is coming into play here. They're completely contradicting what the state said, which is that Tesla factory can remain open to essential functions and producing, etc. And then Alameda County is saying, "No, what? No, we're going to fire that. We're going to completely say it can't open and start production until June," which is a significant amount of time for a company who employs tens of thousands of people. So then someone went on and said, "I'm not a lawyer, but can shareholders fire a class action lawsuit? In 9 days, Tesla will be the last factory of all car factories," and this is in the U.S., "to reopen. We are clearly being disadvantaged." That's absolutely true. It's ridiculous. And now all other car manufacturers are up and running except for Tesla, simply because California, and this, not even the state, but this specific county, will not let Tesla reopen and start manufacturing again. And so Elon said, "Absolutely, please do. You should be allowed to recoup damages from the county." Someone said, "It's not like you don't have visible protocol that has proven effective in China's factory." And that's another thing to keep in mind here. And I'm going to read this before I talk about this, but exactly, Tesla knows far more about what needs to be done to be safe through our Tesla China factory experience than an unelected interim junior official in Alameda County. That's 100% true. I mean, Elon said on the Joe Rogan podcast, this is basically like a weird deja vu. It's like a repeat of what's already happened in China. He's seen all this play out. He's seen his factory be shut down and then restart. It's already happened in China. And so they know more about safety. They know more about what to do, what the coronavirus is like, and how it affects their factory and production lines, etc., than pretty much anyone, because they were the first ones to be impacted by it in China. So now their China factory is fully up and running. And now, since the U.S. is a little behind compared to China, since it started in China and then spread here over time, now they're facing pretty much the same thing, but a lot of criticism, a lot of contradictory, and a lot of just weird stuff going on in California. And so it's not just about Elon. This is something that a lot of people who are criticizing Elon on Twitter, I noticed, get wrong. They think, oh, Elon just wants to make money, which I don't think that's necessarily true. I think he cares about progress. I think he really thinks that, and I agree with him, that it is completely setting Tesla back, setting his companies back, and that's, as someone who's running a company, and, I personally run my own company as well. If my company was set back significantly by the government, it would really piss me off because, oh, sorry about that, my mic just fell over there. Anyways, though, he's really about progress. I don't necessarily think he cares about the money too much. I think he's already incredibly rich. And we've already seen him, he's selling all of his physical possessions. He's selling his houses, a lot of his cars, etc., just to prove to the point that he doesn't care about all that stuff. Despite what your opinion is on that, whether you think it's about the money or not, the point is it's not just about Elon, because Tesla employs thousands of people in California, and it's about the workers. It's about the people who rely on a paycheck from Tesla to feed their family, to keep their house and their lights on. I mean, that's over 10,000 people that work in California for Tesla. And remember, California is not a cheap place to live. This isn't the South or other places where you can, buy stuff for pretty cheap. The cost of living is significantly lower. No, California is an expensive state to live in. And so to not have a paycheck, especially with this amount of time that's passed now, is pretty devastating to a lot of households, especially if you have a family, especially if you're the main source of income in your family, or just for a variety of reasons that people really rely on money. Remember that I think it's 40 or 60% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. And I guarantee some of these Tesla employees live paycheck to paycheck as well. And so you really have to remember that these people need a paycheck, and it's not just about Elon. It's about all the employees that Tesla employs. So you also have to remember that Tesla has companies that heavily rely on its production. And if we look at this slide here, here's a list of about 6 or 8, well, how many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 companies that supply and manufacture for Tesla. We have windshields, brakes, the power seats, etc. And although these companies are pretty huge, most of them, and they probably, they definitely supply a lot of this stuff to other car manufacturers as well, Tesla is still probably one of their largest and a very large source of income for these companies. So it's negatively affecting these companies, which could mean they're going to have to lay off workers, etc. So it's not just affecting Tesla, it's a ripple effect that'll affect tons of different companies, thousands and thousands of workers, and it's a really horrible thing. And if we go back to this here, I think it's really ridiculous and just completely hypocritical that you let Apple open up, Walmart, you have Amazon warehouses open. I went to Home Depot recently, and I don't know if it's like this in California as well, but it was packed at Home Depot and Lowe's. It was completely packed. There was lines. People were standing right next to each other, and people were wearing masks and taking safety precautions. But same with the grocery stores. If you really want to protect yourself and be careful, you can get grocery stores, you can get groceries delivered, etc. People were choosing to go out and risk getting COVID. So the fact that you're allowing all of these to get open, but Tesla is not open, doesn't make any logical sense. And I'm going to talk about this applies to not just Tesla, but small businesses as well. And so this applies to small businesses as well, because you see all these large chains open who receive a significant higher number of foot traffic. You're seeing much more people walk into Walmarts, walk into Lowe's and Home Depots, and those it's much more likely for you to get coronavirus by going to those rather than going to a small business which maybe has, a couple people in it, inside at a time. And so if these businesses are allowed to take safety precautions, you should allow these businesses to open up. But apparently small businesses should stay closed while all these other businesses should stay open, even though it just doesn't make any logical sense. So this is also not just going to affect small businesses, but as small businesses aren't able to pay their loans back, it's going to affect banks, and it's just going to create a massive domino effect if this goes on for any longer. And we're really seeing this starting to take place already. So next up, I just want to talk about some of the responses Elon got to what he was saying about California, about him leaving California, about the lawsuit, etc. First, we have a tweet from Robert Rich here. He said, so let me get this straight. Elon Musk is willing to subject his factory workers to COVID, but won't subject himself to criticism on Twitter, and apparently Elon blocked him. And then Elon had a savage response. He said, no, I just think you're a boring idiot. Yeah, that was a pretty funny response, if I'm going to be honest here. I just think it's ridiculous again. I just think it's hypocritical that you're letting other factories, you're letting other people open up, you're letting people, Walmart be open and let hundreds of people a day walk into Walmart, but Tesla was the same people every single day who's already proven that they've taken safety precautions in China. And remember, in China, they've had 0 deaths from COVID. I actually don't know if they've had any cases or not, but I believe Elon and Joe Rogan, and you can double check this for me if you want, said there wasn't even a single case that they got at the China Gigafactory, and that's in China. So I think it's pretty ridiculous. I think, Tesla's they've proven that they can operate safely. I think they have a really good understanding of how to do that. And they also released a page on how they're going to do that and what their plan is already, which I think is, it just shows that they're really on top of this. And so, no, he's not just throwing workers out and saying, screw you guys, I want to make money. Go, you guys are going to get COVID and I don't care. That's not it at all. He knows that these people need money. He knows that he wants Tesla to continue to operate and to continue to progress. And it's just pretty ridiculous that people are criticizing him like this. But this one wasn't even the most ridiculous one. The next one just really grinded my gears. So we have Lorena Gonzalez, and this is her finances. We're going to come back to this. But she is a state assemblywoman for California, District 80. She's a Democrat. She's on the ballot. So this is just a moment, and I'm not going to get too political here, but remember who you vote for, and remember in the elections, when you vote, who you're voting for, and who these people are, and that they represent you. Because if this person represents you, and you're going to see why she's just is ridiculous, you really should second guess why you voted for her. Because in my opinion, and I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but just remember that you vote for people who are representing you. They work for you. They don't, you're not working for them. And so, when you vote for someone, you're voting for them to work for you because they're the ones who are voting on where your money goes, etc. And so just keep that in mind next time you vote. And this is what she decided to tweet out. F Elon Musk. Yeah, this is from a congresswoman. All right, this isn't a troll account. I actually thought this was a troll. I thought this was almost a fake account. I was like, nah, this can't be real. No, this is a congresswoman in California who tweeted this out. And then she goes on below to say California has highly subsidized a company that has always disregarded worker safety and well-being, has engaged in union busting and bullies public servants. I probably could have expressed my frustration in a less aggressive way. Well, you got one thing right. You definitely could have expressed your frustration in a less aggressive way. If you had an argument against Elon, go ahead and tweet out a well-written and established argument using logic, not emotion like this. I mean, this is completely ridiculous for a congresswoman to tweet this out. And it gets even more hypocritical, it gets even more ridiculous as we look into her finances as well. So Elon then said, message received. I thought that was pretty funny. He actually pinned this to his Twitter. I thought that was a good response. He didn't, go off on a massive tangent or something. He just said, message received. I thought that was pretty hilarious. And Viv here, who's a massive Tesla fan, she's a YouTuber. She's on the Third Row Tesla podcast, who I was quoting earlier. But she said, I love California, but over-regulation and politicians trying to protect citizens, but actually pushing their own agenda / making just actions based on the next election, not the best outcome for citizens, is what led to stagnation and less innovation in Europe, for example. California shouldn't follow the same path. This is an amazing tweet. I think this is 100% correct. And Lorena is a perfect example of someone who's trying to push her own agenda, who's making actions based on simply the next election, and in my opinion, doesn't seem to realize that she represents citizens of California, and that she's voting for citizens as a congresswoman in California. I think it's completely ridiculous. So here is her finances that we're going to look over. The first thing here, just take a look at this. You don't really notice much. Well, take a look at this. Oil and gas. These are the top donors to her campaigns here. So oil and gas donated $26,800. Energy and natural resources donated $42,200. I think this is ridiculous. I mean, come on. They're going to criticize Elon for this, and then your top donors are from oil and gas and natural resources? I mean, come on. That's just absurd. And so then we have Kimball Musk kind of chiming in on the T here. He says, shame on her and Governor Newsom for pushing oil and gas companies and car companies while they forced the one positive future car company to shutter. It makes me ill. COVID ain't got nothing on them. And I agree. I think it's completely ridiculous what they're doing. Now, people have been tweeting out her voting record, and I do want to say one thing on this. It says, you see oil and gas, and you see voted yes on all of this. Now, the word amends means you simply made changes to the laws regarding whatever it is. We don't know whether the amendment was to actually further regulation on oil drilling or if it was to deregulate, etc. Based on her finances, I would assume that a lot of this was actually for and supporting the oil companies, not against it. But she claims otherwise, and it's really hard to tell. So I wouldn't get too caught up in what she voted on, but simply just look at her finances, who her top donors on. I think that's pretty ridiculous. And the fact that she's a congresswoman and tweeted out the tweet that she made is just absurd. I mean, she's representing people who, she's voting for you. She's representing people. I think it's absurd. I would never want this lady to represent me personally or anyone who tweets that kind of thing out publicly. I mean, that's just absurd. At least act professional. So next up, we have this here. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about what Elon said about moving to Texas/Nevada immediately. He even said if we even retain Fremont manufacturing. So he's really talking about moving not just the HQ, but everything out of California, including manufacturing, which is a really big deal, especially since Tesla is the last car manufacturer and it employs about 10,000 people who live in California. But the question is, and that a lot of people have been pondering recently, is what city will Tesla move its headquarters in? And is this just a scare tactic? Now, I don't think this is a scare tactic at all. Personally, I think that Elon was planning on already moving its HQ out of California, and that Tesla was already planning to move a lot of this gradually out of California. So I don't think this was a scare tactic, but I think this just reassured him, and I think this was kind of a big announcement that he made, and just the final straw. I think Texas and Nevada are both business-friendly states, and Tesla will most likely even receive incentives for moving its business. But the question is, what city will it move to? So first off, we have Reno, Nevada, and it's near the Tesla Gigafactory, which kind of makes sense. But I would be surprised if he moved to Reno, Nevada. And then we have Austin, Texas. This seems like what most people are leaning towards in terms of guessing where they're going to move to. There's guesses on Dallas, Texas as well. But I think Texas definitely seems like the most likely place for its headquarters and for a new factory to be built. We'll see what happens, though. So, next up, we have just a little bit of more tea here just to end it off. Oops, sorry about that. Tesla started building cars again this weekend as Elon Musk was fighting with Alameda County over whether the factory can reopen. The company has already built around 200 Model Ys, Model 3s, two current employees tell me. Now, this is kind of a weird source. We don't know if this is 100% true or not. But in my opinion, it seems like Tesla is just saying, you know what, we're going to start building and manufacturing no matter what. We want to progress. We want to move forward and get past this ridiculous stuff and laws that's going on around this whole controversy. So I think, good for Tesla. I think I'm glad they are suing them. I think they absolutely should. I think they have every right to sue the county. I think it's completely ridiculous. And the response that he got for suing them is even more ridiculous. I mean, that just shows how unprofessional they're acting, especially that congresswoman and other politicians in California right now. It's ridiculous. And I think Tesla moving to Texas or Nevada is going to be a good thing, in my opinion, for Tesla. I won't be surprised, and I think in the long run, it's a good move. There's just so much red tape. It's so hard to run a business in California now. It's pretty ridiculous. So a lot of investors might be wondering how this affected the stock price. Well, it actually, all this news has hardly moved it. I mean, for Tesla's stock, which is a very volatile stock, as many of you know, this news has hardly even budged the stock. It's down 0.6% today. It's just been hovering around $820 to $800 recently per share. I think most investors are focused on Battery Day and are focused on substantial news that is beyond COVID. And I think a lot of them realize, you know what, there's some controversy going on in the U.S., but the bigger deal is in China, where they are just ramping up production, where there's a much larger population of people who are going to be purchasing Teslas. And the fact that Tesla has been dominating in Europe and in China right now. So I think that's what most investors are focused on, and are focused on seeing deliveries and just seeing numbers, Battery Day announcements, and they're kind of just ignoring the rest of the drama going on here. So thanks for watching this Tesla Tuesday. Man, there's a lot of tea, a lot of crazy stuff. I'm sure it's going to keep building up. It's just a whole mess going on. Twitter is a war zone, but if you want to see, if you want to read the lawsuit document for yourself, go ahead. I'll post it in the link in the description below. Please give me your opinion on this. Do you think this is right? What do you think is going to happen? What's the outcome going to be? Where Tesla's going to move, etc. Please subscribe and hit the notification bell, and I'll also be back with my regular scheduled content on investing, analyst reports, etc. later this week. Thanks for watching. This is Stock Your Finance, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.